These are Sri Lankan government forces closing in on Tamil rebels in 2009, bringing a brutal end to a 25-year civil war. The government and the rebels have both been accused of war crimes in the conflict. In the government's case, for indiscriminate shelling of a small rebel-held area where hundreds of thousands of Tamil civilians were trapped. Now the UN is also being criticized for not doing enough to protect those civilians in a scathing internal report handed to Secretary General Ban Ki-moon on Wednesday. The report found that senior UN staff failed to confront the Sri Lankan government about the risks to civilians and did not see the prevention of civilian deaths as their responsibility. And by withdrawing from the conflict zone, the UN was unable to deliver humanitarian assistance and monitor potential human rights violations.
The Secretary General is determined that the United Nations draws the appropriate lessons and does its utmost to earn the confidence of the world's people, especially those caught in conflict.
The criticisms in this report were first raised by human rights groups as far back as 2009. They were echoed by the UN's own panel of experts in 2010. It was that panel that recommended this internal review. Now the Secretary General's response to appoint yet another panel to ensure that the lessons of Sri Lanka are not repeated in future conflicts. The number of civilians who died in the final months of the conflict may never be known, but the UN's own figures say it could be as many as 40,000. Critics say the UN made similar promises of reform after it failed to act during genocides in Rwanda and Srebrenica.
There is a common thread between the three of them, which is the willingness of the UN leadership here in New York to reflect the political unwillingness of the UN's members in the Security Council to act in these circumstances. The UN Security Council was unwilling to act.
While the UN promises to review its failings, human rights groups say the Sri Lankan government has yet to conduct a credible investigation into crimes committed. And until that happens, there's not likely to be any accountability for those ultimately responsible for the loss of so many innocent lives. Kristen, Saloomey, Al Jazeera, the United Nations.